First of all, I'd like to thank the organizers for the opportunity of being able to speak in this wonderful conference. I agree with Scott Wilson that the list of speakers is phenomenal, and as a result, he already mentioned most of the things I was going to say about partnering with publishers, and also Dr. Don Millard gave a wonderful keynote address in which he probably mentioned all the punchlines that I had thought. But nevertheless, I'm going to tell you first then what I'm not going to talk today. I'm not going to talk about graduate education, although we do have sort of a phenomenal enterprise in graduate programs. I'm not going to talk about the research that we conduct in mathematics. Texas A&M University alone invests about $820 million. That's the late expenditure we had in research. Math department shares the reasonable portion of that as far as mathematics goes. But I decided to, this is a session on innovations in education. So I decided to focus on undergraduate education, and the approach I'm going to take here is going to be very pragmatic. I'm going to give you some examples of how we are creating graduate innovation technologies, how we are partnering with publishers and other departments to produce novel and more engaging products that aid our educational enterprise. And I hope that at the end, I will show what I think is one of the coolest, and I'm not going to spoil the end, one of the coolest things in mathematics you may be able to see, I hope. And so let me start describing in broad strokes what we think as our math teaching mission. So because we've been talking a lot about teaching, preparing our students for the job market, but I also think we need to feed with professions that would be paradigm shifters, people who will actually give contributions beyond perhaps what's expected from them and beyond our current achievements. We want people who will be creative, innovative, and so that can propel our economy way beyond we can even think right now. So, and what does math has to do with that? So that's a good question. Let me say, first of all, what are our challenges right now? So I want to talk a little bit about the challenges that we have, the hurdles that we have, and how we're trying to overcome that in a sort of a creative process altogether. First of all, we have this charge. President Obama commissioned this PCAST report 2012, Engage to Excel, where it's called for us to produce 1 million additional college degrees in STEM fields of education. So that's a big challenge. If you think that we need to, first of all, attract those students, we have to make them successful, decrease the retention, increase the retention rate. And so in an era where there are so many other things that perhaps can seem an easier route towards sort of a productive life. So how to engage the new generations? So first of all, this is a big challenge nowadays, especially if you look at the current model of teaching in universities, because we have to effectively develop new technologies in tandem with demographic changes. So for example, I have a little 5-year-old, the cutest thing in the world, and she already is using in her kindergarten an iPad with some little programs there, which seem to be pretty good, to learn things. So, so the generations now coming into college come already, as you know, with an understanding of digital technology and all these things, much greater than the vast majority of the faculty. So, only in Texas we have currently 1,400,000 plus or minus high school students, and they all are going to just come into college with a high demographic diversity from different areas, different educational backgrounds, and so on. So, and they have high access to information and also disinformation. So, so which is also a problem for us when we are educating them. And so we want to be able to engage the generation. We have to learn to shift, to lead a paradigm shift in which we can promote this change, although we cannot do that all at once. So I sometimes compare with the car industry where we have a new model every year, and we implement new features, and every now and then there's a major shift in the technology, but a lot of that progress comes with upgrading the models. And so that's what we're trying to do in many ways, because you don't have resources to all of a sudden promote this huge change. So there are a lot of challenges that we have to face in how we are educating students. For example, I mean, there are two, one startling fact and one interesting quote, but how do you prepare students perhaps for things that are not a problem yet, or how to face, how they're going to use technology that do not exist. So we need to create students with this open mind, with analytical skills, with an inquisitive approach to learning. And I claim that mathematics, although there's a criticism about the problem solving, so well, it depends on how you implement the problem solving, right? So I mean, we got a lot of students who come from education system, K through 12, this is a big problem, and they come with math biases. They come with some math fear. They come with math anxiety. And you all think it's okay. I mean, in my point of view, literacy, when you talk about literacy, you always talk about the language skills. But actually, I like this quote by Samuel Johnson that advising people to learn algebra because your head would be less muddy. And this is one of the most prominent scholars of the English language. But the point I'm trying to claim is that mathematical illiteracy in any guise should be equally unacceptable in our education system nowadays, because it forms a key foundational pillar of our of knowledge, I think. So there's another quote by Neil deGrasse Tyson, where if we have a culture of innovation, right, those that are not scientists or engineers, like poets, actors, journalists, they, as communities, embrace the meaning of what is to be scientific literate. And scientific entails mathematics, too. They embrace the concept of an innovation culture. So now, how to implement this into our educational system? So I'm going to start first with the broad perspective of how we have been working really hard. This is taking a lot of my time nowadays to run this operation. So just to give you an idea, mathematics at Texas A&M teaches I think this year we will teach about 28,000 students in a given year. So there's no wonder that certainly we have a lot of publishers salivating at our door and a lot of potential partners willing to partner with us in all kinds of things. So first of all, I'll talk about from a system-wide. So how we first of all, we have all these client departments. We teach mathematics to all those schools, some of them with thousands and thousands of students in our classes. And we have established a very close communication with them. We know their needs. I meet every other week with deans of engineering, for example, to gauge the progress of their students, to see what they are doing. Of course, we provide instruction with a lot of support. We have weeks in review help sessions. We have a video library by now with 5,300 hours of video have produced. And so there's a huge library we're trying now to organize and make that a little bit more accessible to our students. We provide a lot of forms of support. Also, we want to promote globalization and high-impact experiences, so we are fostering undergraduate research, RU programs, study abroad programs. By the way, the math department this year is running 2 study abroad programs, one in France, one in China. And I don't know if you are aware of that, but those programs can be made available to all our SEC institutions. It's up to us to open or not. The math programs are open to SEC. Your students will have the opportunity to go to study abroad programs paying state rate. So maybe something you would consider. We're also doing a lot of partnerships with the industry, so we have a very close communication with the actuarial industry to develop, in development of curriculum, auto industry, chemical industry, oil industry, and we are partnering with several of these publishers and deliverers of content, like Cengage, Pearson, WebAssign. So everything that the previous speaker mentioned, certainly we are facing precisely the same situations. So now, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to give you 3 simple examples of how we are gradually implementing those things. And so in this partnership, when you look at our clients, for example, engineering, this is a massive program at A&M, there are a lot of problems with, they want to increase their size, problems with the retention issues, the progress, the success, time to graduation. All those, we play a fundamental role. So mathematics is always there in their way. So first of all, the question of assessment, placement, advising our students. So we have developed in-house, as a result of an SF STEP grant, a couple of $1 million. Along the years, the last 7 years, we have created this accurate diagnostic tool that now is used by engineering, for example, as its primary assessment placement tool for the entering class of students. They have 2 versions, one for the liberal arts, one for the engineering. And yes, it's a test. There's nothing novel about it, perhaps, but this is a highly studied initiative. So we have a massive amount of data in the last 7 years, and with that, we've been fine-tuning the exam, and is a completely randomized, it's a customizable program and continuously revised and statistically calibrated to correlate with the success of students in the engineering calculus sequences. So now this, after a while, became a huge operation for us, and we partnered with the WebAssign to develop it online. Right now, I think we have at least 6 different institutions in the country who are considering adopting, they are testing and they are revising our data. And we hope that this will be something, an initiative that will have deep impact, and I will show you soon how this works and how it improves our success in those courses. So Civitas, also A&M, is having this pilot project where we're going to track the student from the day they enter to the day they leave, for a more effective advising to promote early intervention measures and so on. And so we feed them with a lot of data. So actually, we gave them data from our last 6 years of instruction, because we keep all those grades within our WebAssign and Blackboard and other devices, other programs. So this is just a quick, okay, here you go. So I'm not sure if you can see the diagram, but it's rather complex. So the students come, before they come, they take the exam. Once they take the exam, depending on the range they are looped into retaking the exam. We offer several online options for them to come up to speed. So the PPP, that we call the Personalized Precalculus Program. There are a lot of things that they can do. If they go to another route and they have perhaps a borderline score, maybe then we offer them the opportunity to do a quick bridge program online, and so which then allows them to rectify and eliminate some misconceptions they have before they start the Calculus 1 course and the Calculus sequence. So in the middle square over there, you can see that there are all those in dashed lines. There are different things that you offer as infrastructure. We have a huge archive of exams, and there are solutions, videos with the solution of the exams. We have streaming videos and all kind of things, help sessions. We have a lot of support structure that we give them. And a lot of that uses technology, and now with a partnership with WebAssign, I think we are going probably to expand this into a much broader enterprise. It has increased the success rate, as you can see down there. In the graphs. I'm not going to explain there now because I think I'm running out of time. This is another partnership we're doing with Cengage at the moment, and maybe I'll skip that quickly as well. And the partnership, basically, we learned from the publishers that their previous approach of telling us that what's the new paradigm, what's the best thing they have, and that we should adopt that has not worked as well as they wanted. So actually they want to partner with us to tell them what we need, and then now they have enough technology and enough resources that they can quickly implement what we want to be implemented. So this is the Precalc project. We now are developing, I'm going to skip some of this, but basically we have developed something called Misconceptions in Precalc, which is a whole package we created with Pearson's, and where we use videos, adaptive homework systems. So adaptive homework system, we create a huge database of problems, and the student, it's self-paced in the sense that the students start taking the problem. The adaptive program, that's a proprietary of Pearson, directs the student to different problems depending on their success or failure in solving certain problems. So that creates a very effective teaching tool. And if successful, I mean, with the package of misconceptions and pre-calculus that we have now, we are probably launching a series of misconceptions in math, and that will, we hope to have a high penetration in our high schools, because I think at least will make very clear what our standards are, what the expectations are, and we hope that they will come back with better prepared students. So now, let me just go quickly into the classroom experience. We're now implementing some active learning modules, and I'm not going to have time to explain it well, but this is basically the paradigm that has been promoted in recent years, and I'm very glad to learn that the education community just rediscovered the Socratic method and go back to Plato, where now you learn by inquiry and by asking questions and by working and engaging people in the discussion. So, so this is an example where what the teacher sees, what the class sees, and the students in the middle of the class, they interact with each other, they can give feedback, so they were asked to graph a line, and here you see, they all see the response of everybody. And then they're given a chance to discuss with their peers, and then redo the problem. And you see clearly from the snapshots on the left-hand side of the screen, you see the response. And so the students are having a very active learning process, but we cannot just rely on that. The teacher can gauge the amount of time that students take and make decisions during the instruction, guiding their class experience. We also have a very interesting creative Ag-Teach program, and the idea is that we're going to teach better our high school, prepare better high school students, teachers, and eventually they will come and produce better students for our university. So I'll skip that. Now I want to ask a quiz here. So what's the percentage of students who play computer video games on a regular basis? Do you know that? Any guess? 95. Oh, that was very good. Excellent. Actually, it's 97. I could not believe that. I quizzed my class. My students all raised their hands across all genders, across anything, and I was extremely surprised. As such, we decided A&M has an incubation grant, that fosters innovation and in those directions, in research and everything else. And this is another type of partnership that we are envisioning here, and I'll show the result of that. This is just a small video about
students with anxiety. One game brings change. A new interactive experience filled with excitement and fully immersive gameplay will engage today's students in calculus education like never seen before. Welcome to Variant, an exploratory adventure game that integrates the visuals and the engagement of a commercial title with the core concepts covered in a Calculus 1 course. Derived from the research of calculus experts, Variant teaches specific learning objectives in an interactive way. Each module presents a different concept, and together these units span an entire semester of calculus learning goals. Thanks to Variant's modular structure, students are able to jump into any area within the virtual learning environment without sacrificing gameplay or story. Learners are able to invest more time on concepts they need to improve in and pass over concepts they've already mastered. Students are able to practice for upcoming tests by traveling to a special region within the game. There, they have access to more structured math problems, helpful resources, and additional feedback from their professors, bringing a new way of learning with a new world of exploration. Variant, learn calculus with confidence.
So this is the result. I mean, I just want to have one last slide just to say that I would like to change culture. We've been talking about that, and when I think about innovation, I often think of geniuses like Miles Davis, who had such an important influence in music and art. And so maybe I'd like to propose a new motto, math, the rebirth of the cool. Okay, so that's the end of my talk. So. I missed by a minute. That's okay. Any questions? So. Oh, there you go.
I was curious, how many questions did it take to create an effective placement exam?
Our placement exam has precisely 33 questions. Yes, 33. And so the one for, we have two different clienteles in mind. For example, the one that's known STEM has lots of, the questions basically, if you have never seen math almost, you could take the exam because it's more logical, testing logical skills and structural thinking and things like that. So that has much less math than perhaps the requirement of logical skills. That's the basic, about a third of it is just like that, and there's some basic algebra and some additional basic pre-calculus type of questions. But the model has 33. The non-STEM in the past had 25, and then they decided to test the additional areas of knowledge. And as I said before, this all is being calibrated by looking at the data, and it's so easy now to harvest data about the students' performance and things like that. That allows us to really keep that fine-tuned very, very carefully. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So one of the challenges that we have in academia competing with the gaming industry is that a successful video game, even a low budget, is going to be $500,000 or more. I mean, they're extraordinarily expensive to produce. So, of course, we saw the trailer, but we didn't actually see the game. So how do you deal with addressing
the cost
the cost issues to create academic games that are at the same production level as commercial games?
No, that's the $2 million question or so. But for example, for this one, this is just a video of a proof of concept. So basically, we have the entire structure of the game, and then we have the proof of concept that deals with one of the first concepts in calculus called limits, which are very hard for students to understand, and they usually neglect that throughout the rest of their studies, and those are one of the fundamental problems in math. I mean, sort of concepts in math. So just to give an idea, this one took several people. So quite a host of students and faculty from different departments. Visualization certainly is the one responsible for the video aspects of it, and there was content, and there are people in education. The grant cost about $100,000. That's the funding that we got for that, and just for the proof of concept. So we are certainly needing serious investment or industrial partners or something like that. And we are having negotiations. I'm not going to disclose with whom, but certainly I would say that some publishers, which by then I told everything because there are not too many out there anymore, have manifested interest in some venture capital and local companies. So that certainly the entire enterprise is going to be extremely costly to produce something of this level of quality. Now,
If I hear you correctly, the answer is if I'm hearing you correctly, the answer is partnering with publishers, not unlike what Scott Wilson was saying in the last session. I mean, you don't have the money. You need the money from somewhere else, and it's going to be very expensive. And
well, I mean, maybe partnering with other SEC institutions, I think we can partner with whoever is interested in partnering with us. And actually, I mean, it would be wonderful if the ECU could launch, joint ventures and initiatives of this nature, because I think that's why we're here together, not only to hear what we do, but perhaps to contemplate putting together joint initiatives. But I mentioned publishers as well because, for example, the game has some sort of training grounds, and training grounds should be a venue where the student maybe leave the game environment for a while and goes into a learning management system or some place where they can, have some drills and have access to other maybe symbolic computation type of engine and so on, and then return back to the game. So this integration is very difficult if you do not have a publisher or a deliverer of content involved in the process. So it's, even the MP, as I mentioned, the WebAssign A&M interface, it took more than a year to be set up so that the students are going to see that automatically as they come to new student conferences. So even the placement exam was a huge learning curve, both for WebAssign and for our IT personnel at university level, because of all the complexities that are involved. So IT issues are humongous in those things. Yes. Okay. Yeah. All right. So